The ever-changing Bob Dylan is showing us yet another side. Many of us are much older now, but Bob Dylan remains, though not just a mere survivor. It's 16 years since Bob Dylan released an album entitled simply Bob Dylan. They were rhythm and blues songs or folk songs, and they seemed to express what a whole generation was trying to say. Popular music changed, but Dylan changed faster. It became folk rock, and now a brand of rock stamped with an inimitable Dylan style. A copy of this book was given to Bob Dylan today. It's called Rhapsodic Ravings and Meandering Musings. The author, Melbourne record store owner David Pepperell, says Bob Dylan was the inspiration. So just how relevant is Bob Dylan today?
Thinking about was what was really going on in the world. A matter of experience, ideas, ambitions, obsessions. When he started off, he did it in a sort of a folk vein, playing guitar, singing, so his words could be heard easier. But he changed later on to a rock band. But the words were always initially were about social protest, about wrong things in society. And I think really he's still singing about that pretty much today, but more on a personal level. More on the fact of, rather than worrying about political ideas and racial ideas, etc., we'll worry about what each singular person is doing to himself and working out his life as he goes through, and trying to do the right thing, trying to relate to each other.
Bob Dylan, the man who emerged with the hungry poet image, now lives in the Hilton Hotel when he's in Melbourne. Then, so do a lot of people. But unlike them, Bob Dylan refuses to speak to the press. And I happen to be one of the breed of people that Bob Dylan has never really been very fond of, that is, television reporters. However, I feel he owes me something when I think of the number of hours I've spent listening to Bob Dylan's records. Many of the words very beautiful, but their meaning very obscure. Anyway, we can only try. It's amazing why people like Bob Dylan are so popular when you consider they're surrounded by well-muscled gentlemen who you wouldn't call rude and you wouldn't say they threatened you, but they have got a rather nasty way of telling you to get lost. But then an artist must be judged by his work and not for not talking to you, nor in your opinion of some of those who hang around him. And judging by what other people think, Bob Dylan's music is as dynamic as ever. His latest album is selling well in Australia, and people are packing his concerts in spite of the panning his recent film got in America. Various people have used all sorts of nasty phrases to say that if the film isn't very boring, it is a little difficult to understand. But there's a lot of Bob Dylan that is, to say the least, obscure.
About 1965, 1966, when he was a rock group, a lot of the words really hardly made sense. And later on, when he was in seclusion, when he recorded what we call the basement tape, which is a series of demo versions of songs with the band, included in that were Wheels on Fire and a number of songs that really made hardly any sense at all. In fact, you sort of wonder if he wasn't just playing with words just for the mere fun of the sound of them.
So outside the Myer Music Bowl today, they waited, some since dawn, the young of yesterday and today as well.
He's still unique, so you can't say Dylan's going to go punk or going to get into heavy metal or anything like that. I mean, I think the secret is still in his writing and his words.
He sings a lot about meanings of my life. He's just a really good performer.
I think he's just saying there's a real need for improvement.
I like a country style. I think he's got soul in his music.
He's just Bob Dylan. He's what he is. He was one of the first, and that's enough.
And tonight they will go in their thousands to pay homage. And understandably, after all, Bob Dylan's latest album is called Masterpiece.